Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be telling you guys a few lessons that I wish I knew or I wish I could tell my teenage self. So these are just some things that I've learned along the way from throughout high school and throughout my experience in college. So to start off, the first lesson that I'd give my younger self is to redefine what a friend means. It doesn't always mean that you have to have someone with you in order to go about life. You need people in your life who are going to inspire you to become better in the deen and in the dunya. You don't necessarily have to always be with them. Communication is important and meeting up with friends is important, but you don't always have to be with them. Make sure they have positive attitudes. Stay away from people who gossip and create unnecessary drama for absolutely no reason. The way to get these friends is to first instill these characteristics within yourself so you attract or find the people that are most like you. In high school, I had a tendency of being friends with people just because I needed some company, and that turned out to be a really bad decision, and that led to a lot of heartbreak, drama, absolutely no reason. So I would tell my younger self to be careful who I become friends with, and if it means that I have to be alone for some time, then it's better to learn that early on than to face it in the future. That leads to my second lesson, to learn to be happy with myself and my own personality. Like, there were so many things that I wanted to do that my friends and peer pressure and not being supported by everyone made me step back from. Like, you don't need approval for things that are allowed in Islam. You can do whatever you want as long as it is within the boundaries of Islam. If it's not bad, then you can absolutely do it. You don't need anyone's permission. For example, if you want to join the debate team, you don't have to have a friend with you to join, which was something that I did. Eventually, as I became a little distant from my friends, it became easier to make decisions and do the things that I wanted to do because I didn't have to search for that approval before I made a decision or stepped into something that I wanted to do. That leads me to my third piece of advice: to spend some time learning about yourself, what you like to do, what you like to enjoy, what kind of life you want to live, because that's going to help you tremendously coming into college and stepping into life. Because it's not enough to know what career you want to do, you have to know what kind of lifestyle you want to live, and that is more important than knowing the exact career path that you want to take. In order to know what career is going to be best for you and what you're going to be happy with, you have to know what kind of lifestyle you want to live. Are you okay with doing very long shifts? Are you okay with being away from your family for a long time? Like, it all depends. Are you okay with sitting in an office? It depends on everything. And honestly, a career is just one part of your life, and to make it your entire life is going to be very painful, and it's going to not make you happy, first of all. And second of all, knowing what kind of life you want early on, like building upon it and learning about yourself as you go, is going to help you so much. So the fourth piece of advice that I'd give is to start learning technical skills and to do it at your own pace and learn things on your own. Because something that I've learned coming, like graduating from a pandemic and being pushed into college remotely, is that I learned so much better learning at my own pace, learning on my own, and learning because I want to. Like, there's just something about doing it on your own and not having the external pressure of being inside a classroom and being forced to study without any motivation. Doing it because you want to and not because a teacher is forcing you to, and not because you have to complete an assignment on it, is going to be so valuable. Fifth lesson I would give to my younger self is to stop using social media the way that other kids my age used to use it. Instead, it would be better to use it as a creative outlet, a place where you document your creative aspirations, like art, your study gram. You could have started it earlier, it would have been so much more helpful. I know it's not to directly compare yourself with others, but using it in a way that is aimless, just to be on a social platform, be connected with others, is doing more harm than good. You could use it in a way that would be helpful to you and helpful to others as well. There's so much you can do with just a social media platform, both harm and good. So try to figure out a way that you can use it in a way that is helpful. I wish I had started my studygram earlier. It would have been so much easier to go about my study experience. The sixth piece of advice that I give myself is kind of related to my fifth. I would tell myself to document my creativity, start journaling again, and to document my progress, because looking back is going to help so much, knowing how much you've accomplished, what you have done, and seeing yourself grow is honestly so motivational, and it keeps you going. For my seventh piece of advice, I would tell myself to use my high school courses to learn my learning method, figure out how I learn, what is my best way to understand the material. I would spend more time learning about productivity, more about learning methods and what they entail, and trying different ones early on in high school, so that when I get to college it would be easier to figure out how to learn, how to study without spending too much time, without it being too time consuming, and learning a method that is like for me and not just generic. This is something that I did do in high school, but I feel like I could have done more and spent more time learning it instead of the usual procrastinating and waiting till the last minute to complete assignments. I wish I had done more and spaced out my learning, and that would have been so much easier, because the sooner you start practicing, the sooner you start learning about what study method is best for you, the easier it'll be in the long run, because you'll get better at it and you'll get faster at it as well. The eighth piece of advice that I'd give myself is to not join a sport and to instead actually go to the gym and work out. I feel like joining a high school sport, in my personal experience, was an absolute waste of time. I had done it because it would look good on my transcript, but unless you go to like state conferences or you plan to go to a college and actually play a college sport, it's really useless. Instead, doing actually working out and being conscious of my health and putting time into that, instead of staying after school for so many long hours for absolutely no reason, and not worth it in my opinion. It wasn't worth it in my opinion. Instead of that, I could have joined clubs and clubs and activities where I could have taken up a leadership experience earlier on, even though I did further down in my high school career. I wish I'd done that earlier, starting freshman year. That leads me to my ninth point: to take up a leadership role that I'm actually passionate about, or that you're actually passionate about. Doing something, you want to do an activity that you can passionately talk about and explain what you did in it and why you joined that club. For example, I was part of a mosque youth program. I was a student ambassador, and I wrote a lot about that in my personal statement. So the activities that you do in high school, you want at least one or two of them to be something that you're passionate about, something that you can talk about. And not just that, not just being able to talk about it, doing a leadership experience role is going to boost your confidence, first of all. Second of all, it's going to help you interact with people better, and you will feel like you have a purpose when you take up a leadership role that you're actually passionate about. It helps so much with opening up the doors to understanding your purpose in life, and it's something that I highly recommend that you do earlier on. So the 10th piece of advice that I'd give my younger self is to do things because you want to and you actually know why you're doing it before you actually do it. For example, wearing the hijab, you should know why you're wearing it, what purpose it holds, and why you personally are going to wear it, because that is going to create a barrier between your decision and peer pressure, and peer judgment. So it's going to be so much more helpful to do the things that you want to do. So the next piece of advice that I'd give myself is to do things that I want to do, that I'm happy doing, and things that, even if they don't fit into what other people would normally find as fun and exciting, to do it anyways, because there are so many things that I used to like to do, like for example reading, and that was considered, especially during my time in high school, something that's boring, nerdy, and lame basically. And because of that, the person who used to read one book a week put books aside, grabbed her phone, and indulged in social media for absolutely no reason, just because other people thought it was not cool to do the things that she liked. So I would highly recommend to do the things that you like. It's your life, it's your decisions, it's your entertainment. What you find entertaining, what you find happiness in, you should do regardless of what people think, because social expectations are always changing. They're like, what is the technical cool is always changing. Like, you can't always put yourself into a box. My next piece of advice would be to reconnect with Islam. Even if you're born as a Muslim, there is so much goodness that comes when you actively try to learn about your religion and accept it as your own, when you are in a mental state where you are basically technically an adult. Like, just following rules because your parents tell you is not enough to be content later on with your religion. You have to actively learn why. Like, refining and reconnecting with Allah and understanding why you're doing certain acts and actually reconnecting with your prayers is going to be so helpful. That realization moment happened to me in 10th grade. I wish it had happened earlier. Even though I was with a purpose wearing the hijab and everything from middle school, I feel like I learned a lot more about my religion. I had that spiritual connection again with Allah and making Allah your friend. My next piece of advice would be to understand the difference between constructive criticism and toxicity. Like, learning to take up criticism in a good manner and to actually improve yourself from it is one thing, and another thing would be to just take in toxic criticism where what you're being told is not going to help you improve whatsoever. I feel like learning that difference early on would be so much helpful for your mental health, and understanding what is something that you can change and can improve about yourself, and something that is just plain old who you are, and something that should not be criticized in the first place. So the next piece of advice that I'd give myself is to learn to understand your emotions instead of suppressing them. Because when you suppress emotions, for example, if you have the urge to cry, you should cry. If you get angry, you should find a way to understand it and not exactly suppress it, because emotions build up over time. Even though it feels like you're suppressing it for some time, you might have like a panic attack or something along those lines, because emotions are a way to release like stress basically, and you don't want to build that up. You want to understand that and let it go. When I was a sophomore, I had this habit of suppressing my emotions. If I wanted to cry, I would just quickly just divert myself and completely try to forget it. And that was a really bad habit, because eventually doing that regularly caused me to have a panic attack in the middle of class, and I could not stop crying, probably because of how much I had stopped it in the past year or so. It's important to be careful with your emotions and to understand them. The last piece of advice that I give myself is to focus on building your own self-image in your own eyes and to become the type of person that you aspire to become, instead of focusing on what other people think of you. Because when you focus on the things that you want to do and your purpose and just doing the things that make you happy in general, like individually, even if those aren't the things that make other people happy, and the things that aren't deemed as cool per se, building your own self-image and focusing on yourself is going to help you so much with being more positive and just generally enjoying life more. Instead of thinking about what other people think, what other people are doing, looking back and improving yourself based on what you were before, instead of looking at other people for your baseline, is going to be so helpful with your mental health and with your improvements. Like, just keeping yourself in check and just improving individually without comparing yourself with others. So that's it for today, guys. If you guys have any video suggestions, then you can leave them in the comments below. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.